call this meeting of the Cleveland Heights University Heights City School District Board of Education to order. Mr. Gaynor, the roll, please.
Mr. Posh.
Here.
Mr. Register.
Here.
Mr. Silverman.
Here.
Ms. Wright.
Here.
Mr. Zucker.
Here. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight. Tonight is the first, you might guess, the first meeting of the calendar year, and traditionally the first meeting of the calendar year for us is also our organizational meeting. So we at that meeting pick potentially a new president, a new vice president. So without further ado, I'm going to go right into that. And the very first item on the agenda is the election of a board president. Just to remind, and maybe for those who are newer at this, the way we do this is we look for nominations. We nominate our own president and vice president. Nominate by name. When we close nominations, then when you vote by the name of the person who you are voting for. Okay? So with that, do I have any nominations for president?
I'd like to nominate Ron Register.
Okay. Any other? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
accept the nomination.
And any other? We've never asked that question. Any other nominations for board president?
It has to be an elected board member. We can't just nominate.
A random person.
Oh, he's shaking it up. Yes, it does have to be. So.
Just clarifying.
All right. Well, if that's the case, then Mr. Gaynor, the roll, please.
Mr. Posh.
Ron Register for president.
Mr. Register.
Ron Register.
Mr. Silverman.
Ron Register.
Ms. Wright.
Ron Register.
Mr. Zucker.
Ron Register, and with that, I congratulate Mr. Register.
Congratulations, Mr. Register.
And I'm going to hand you the gavel.
No, don't do that.
Yeah.
I got a question. Do I have to get sworn in?
No.
I don't. Then I won't get sworn in.
Do you
I
wanna
guess
be
you
sworn
can.
in?
No.
No,
You may be sworn at, but not sworn.
I do not. But let me see if I'm ready for this.
You gotta take your nameplate,
Oh, yeah, good.
otherwise people won't know.
Thank you. Well, as you all know, I got big shoes to fill. So,
8.5.
that's how I work on it, you know.
Is that big?
Oh, no.
I thought the first thing I would do is kind of quote my colleague Jim Posh. Remember, somebody else used to do this, and I'm new at this, so bear with me for a minute. But anyway, it's good, and I appreciate the vote of confidence, and I also am looking forward to us doing some exciting things and doing the leading that you've asked me to do. So thank you very much. So let's move on. The second item on the agenda is the election of board vice president. I'll open the floor for nominations.
I'd like to nominate Cal Zucker for vice president.
So Cal Zucker is nominated. Any other nominations? You don't have the same question, do you?
I was about to ask it. We're busy tonight.
Any other nominations? Okay, then we'll close the nominations, and Mr. Gaynor will call the roll.
Mr. Register.
Cal Zucker.
Mr. Silverman.
Cal Zucker.
Ms. Wright.
Cal Zucker.
Mr. Zucker.
Cal Zucker?
Mr. Posh.
Cal Zucker.
So many different pronunciations.
It's close enough. That's right.
Okay, the next, so Cal, you are the vice president for 2017. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you all for nominating.
Our next item is appointment of treasurer pro tem. So is that me just making an appointment?
Mm-hmm. So actually, you could take 3 through 15 if you have the appointment in place. If you want to do 3 separately, then you can do 4 through 15.
Let me see. All of these we already have?
Yeah, you'll just need, you've traditionally done them all as a single motion.
Okay,
After that.
all right.
But you can do 3 separately. if you want.
Okay, yeah, we'll do 3 separately. I appoint Jim Posh as a treasurer pro tem, and the treasurer pro tem actually acts in the absence of the treasurer to call the rolls and do all those administrative duties, like make sure that he calls the rolls and make sure that everything is in order in terms of the actions that were taken in the meeting itself. So I'll appoint Jim, and I don't think it requires any second or anything like that. I think the fact that Cal gave me the gavel, I think I can do that without any action other than mine. So
Yeah,
the buck stops here.
there you go.
Okay, great. So,
Let's approve it, though, with the
okay, I
addition.
want to, for the purposes of our meeting, I'll accept a motion to approve Jim Posh as our treasurer pro tem. So I won't leave you out. Okay.
Second. I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved in second, so, Mr. Gainer, would you call the roll?
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Posh?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Thank you for your confidence in voting for me.
You're welcome. I think you did an outstanding job.
Last year,
You
last year was
deserve,
a-
you
it was a-
deserve to do
was
it
a fun
again.
ride last year doing that job, yes.
Right. Okay, items 4 through 15, we can take as one, and with one motion, and they include certifying the date of regular board meetings. That include things like board members' compensation, which is directly tied to state law, how we invest our funds. Each school has a cashier that has some petty cash to handle. We have assessment of properties that we actually have. Our treasurer, chief financial officer is responsible for that. And we also certify memberships in things like the State School Board Association and the Education Tax Policy Institute, which are organizations that we are members in. Others, I think, if you remember, we did the Ohio Coalition for Equity and adequacy. We did that as a separate motion. So there are some things that come up, but these are ones that are that we have as a board, and boards across the state have long-standing relationships with. It also certifies him to bill the county in terms of what taxes we are due. So that's a summary of those items. I'll accept a motion to approve items 14 through 15 on the organizational meeting agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved in second. Any discussion or questions about any of those things? Mr. Gainer, would you call the roll?
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Posh?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
And the other thing that we do is we sometimes have some regular business that we have to take care of. And this, after the organization meeting, we flow right into the regular business meeting. I think that we're okay to just go into that because the roll call and everything has been done. And so we're ready to do awards and recognitions. And I think I'll turn to Dr. Dixon.
Alrighty. Thank you. So good evening, everyone. So we start our meeting tonight by recognizing a group of students who are about to take a once-in-a-lifetime journey. The Options Global Ambassadors Initiative was started as a way to provide African-American male students the chance to participate in an international experience that will significantly impact their lives. Last year, a group of young men traveled to London through the program, and this year, a new group will go to Johannesburg, South Africa. I'd like to introduce the coordinator of the alternative programming at Delisle Option Center, Dr. Brian Williams. And Dr. Williams will tell us about the trip and the 3 remarkable students who were selected to attend this year. So, Dr. Williams.
Good evening, everyone. Of course, I want to thank Superintendent Dixon, our board members, all of our donors, and Mr. Holland, who has worked closely with me with this initiative over the last 2 years, and everyone that has supported our Options Global Ambassadors over the last 2 years. We have the opportunity this year for our students to travel to South Africa. We've established a partnership with the Steve Biko Foundation there, and we'll be visiting the foundation and attending a school that is connected to the organization. This is a phenomenal opportunity, and it is designed to impact students well beyond their years after high school. So our students were chosen because they are on track for graduation. They're seniors on track for graduation, and they demonstrate leadership abilities. They've already put those leadership abilities to use as they have served as mentors to middle school students in our Odyssey program. They've also already established a partnership with Fairfax Elementary School and their future leaders of tomorrow, which are 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade young men. We also have established an opportunity for them to connect with middle school students in 5th, 6th, and 7th grade at Roxborough and Monticello this year. So this is an opportunity of service and an opportunity to demonstrate their leadership abilities right here in our community. Our vision statement at the Options Program is that we are creating an environment that allows students to explore the true power that lies within them. And this initiative is designed to take students totally out of their comfort zone, and giving them an opportunity for international experience is definitely out of their comfort zone. And when they're able to successfully navigate that terrain, then what they realize is that everything they need, they already have. And so we want them to explore themselves, to know themselves, and to trust their abilities and move in the direction of their destiny. And so at this time, I want to recognize our 3 young men that will go on this journey at the end of March. And then this has been a process throughout the course of the year. And so what we have learned through our experience last year is that the trip is just part and parcel of the process. We've been meeting with our young men ever since September, and we'll continue to do programming and meeting with our young men on a weekly basis until the time that they graduate. And so I want to introduce our young men at this time. We have Roberto Osorio, we have Tyron Bryant, and we have Deshaun Gibson. And at this time, Roberto is going to have some words on behalf of our ambassadors.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I would like to say to the board that we are very thankful for the opportunity and the chance you have given us to be able to take this trip and have a once in a lifetime opportunity and experience. And I would like to thank the superintendent as well, and anyone who has supported the Options Global Ambassadors. We are so thankful to have this opportunity. I can't speak any other words on how glad I'm able to go to South Africa and have this experience and learn so many new things to add to my life and open so many doors for myself and for Tyron and Deshaun. We would never have thought that we could have this type of opportunity and be able to go to South Africa. That's a 1 in a million chance to go somewhere like that. And I thank Mr. Holland and Dr. Williams for giving us that chance and seeing the potential we had and being able to help us bring it out and being able to go on this journey. And thank everyone in this room as well. Thank you so much for supporting us and letting us have this chance. Thank you.
Well said. And before we have our photo opportunity, we are connected with the Steve Biko Foundation, which is our partnership, and we'll be attending a school in the city of King Williamstown, which is in the southern part of the country. So this trip consists of 2 legs. We're going to be traveling to Johannesburg, South Africa, which we're going to be there for 4 days. While we're there, we'll visit Soweto with the Mandela Museum, Johannesburg University, and we'll have some other cultural site visits, but we'll be connected to the foundation while we're there. We're going to hop on a domestic flight while we're in South Africa and fly down to King Williamstown, which is the home of Steve Biko. It is the home of Walter Sisulu. It is the home of Nelson Mandela. And it is also where the Steve Biko Center is, which is the hub of that community, and which will be involved in forums and conversations with community members, visiting schools, visiting folks while we are down there for the 4 days, which is the second leg of the trip. Now, we are taking 3 young men that have never been on a plane before. And so to have your first opportunity to board a flight, to have this opportunity is exceptional. Our students deserve it. They're looking forward to it. and they're going to serve our community well. And more importantly, when we return, we're going to be back to share our experience. Our culminating time for us to share our experience when we come back here in June, but more importantly, when we come back, the schools that we have visited, where it's Fairfax, Monticello, and Roxborough, we go back and we share that experience with the young folks that we have connected with, as they have also followed us on Twitter while we have been gone. And I'm not a social media person at all, and didn't start using my principal Twitter account until we went to London last year. But what I learned is that it was a powerful tool, because yet we're taking 3 students from the options program, but we have 120 other students at the options program and an entire community that is living the experience vicariously through these 3 young men. And so it is an endeavor that involves 3 people practically, but it involves an entire community. And so we look forward to them being able to successfully navigate that terrain, that we know this has ultimately a powerful impact on them on their years well beyond high school. So again, we thank you for the opportunity and recognizing us tonight.
Thank you.
Mr. Reggie.
Give them a hand,
Yes.
and we know they're gonna come back with some. They come back and read with us and tell us all about the trip. We're definitely looking forward to that. So let's get a photo.
You can do it after this. Yeah, I can do that. Do you mind if I just, one thing?
Yeah, come on.
First of all, thanks for being here, but Roberto, Tyron, and Deshaun? So this is the second year in a row, you guys have come to thank us, but we should be thanking you as well, because ambassadors is a perfect name for you. You're ambassadors within our district, you're ambassadors within our community, and now you're ambassadors in the entire world. So we can't thank you enough for what you're doing as well. So we just want to make sure you know that as well. Thanks. Ron, you're going up there, right?
Am I supposed
Get
to?
up there. Yes. Hold on.
I'm
Scott.
coming.
Okay, the next recognition, I would like to recognize, many of you guys know that as a superintendent, you either have 5 bosses, 7 bosses, or 9 bosses. It depends on your district. So I'm fortunate to have 5 bosses who have supported me now as I'm going to this is the 3rd year as superintendent, and I think is really nice to know that you have people who support the initiatives that you have in mind and really support the vision, and even through some nice discord, you know is that they support the work, because the work benefits not only the students but the community as well. So January is the Board Appreciation Month across the state. And tonight I want to recognize our 5 board members and to say thank you for what you do for the community, the opportunities that you provide for our students, such as what we've saw tonight, again, for the 2nd year that we have students that have this global experience brought to us by Dr. Williams. But for all the things that you do and the hard work, good times, bad times, we know that the work that you do is not easy, but you do it for the students in this community, and it's the right thing to do. And I appreciate that, and I know the community appreciates that, the students appreciate it, and all the staff. So I wanted to recognize you tonight and have a little something for you that'll start off this today, and we have some other things for the entire month as we celebrate Board Appreciation Month. So let's give our board members a hand. If you come down, you can take a photo as well. Okay. Okay, and this is to Cal. Come on down, Cal. He's shy. Cal is the shy one. So Cal, and just stand for the photo op. Ron. Okay. Jim, and your certificate says James. Ron, yes. There you go. Now come around for a picture in just a second. Eric. And Beverly. Okay. Okay, and just remember also, the board members are come on, guys, they're elected officials, and so, I'm not sure what they're doing right now. But they're elected officials, and so the community members, I mean, they vote and they have confidence in the 5 members that are standing before us and know that they're representing this community and representing the community very well. And so, again, Board Appreciation Month, appreciate all the work that you do. Let's give them another round of applause, please. Yeah, just one. Well, yeah, it's gonna be on the website. Okay, so this concludes our recognitions and acknowledgements for tonight.
Okay. Okay, we don't have any requested audience or anybody who signed up to make any statements. So, we'll move on. It's time for the superintendent's report.
Well, the only report I have tonight is one that we're continuing with our strategic plan. But on next week, I think it's January 10th, with Reaching Heights, we get to honor a couple, the Tabors. So they have been chosen as the family of Friends of Public Education.
Right.
So I'm excited about that event and get to talk bring some highlights to that event. So I'm looking forward to that. And they have definitely been friends to public education and to this community. I call them a power couple. Whenever you need the Tabors, they are there. And so if you're available to come, please join us. I think it's next Tuesday night at 7 o'clock at Reaching Heights.
Okay, we can look forward to that.
Yes.
And I think we should thank everybody for recognizing us, and I think most of us enjoy our service to you most of the time. So we'll try to keep that attitude. Okay, so let's move on. Our next item is personnel, and I'd like to take E1 and 2. I'll accept a motion to approve that together.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Questions? Mr. Gaynor, would you call the roll?
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Posh?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
And E3 is probably in the hands of the board only, and it has to do with us awarding some retroactive pay to an employee. So I hope you've had a chance to review it, and I'll accept a motion to approve that agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Mr. Gaynor, would you call the roll?
Mr. Posh?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Okay. That moves us to business services, and I think we have 3 items. And I think the first item, F1, needs to be taken separately. It's a recommendation to approve Roxborough and Monticello Middle Schools schematic design by Moody Nolan. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Petcat, I think.
You want a motion?
Yeah, could I have a motion to approve that recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. We'll turn it over to PMC? Okay, great.
Hello, I'm Doug Myers with PMC. In the December board meeting, the team presented the schematic design estimate for the middle schools. At that time, the estimate was over budget, so we presented different options to be able to get the project within budget. Based on the input from the board, we've made those revisions and resubmitted the schematic design estimate. That's what we're asking for approval for, so we can proceed on with the project.
Okay. There any discussions?
You're still working on the the cost of removing the soon-to-be obsolete air handlers, correct?
The unit ventilators?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, okay. When do we have an ETA on that?
Find a time when we can get in the schools
Okay.
and find an area where we can go in, maybe in an empty classroom or a room
Gotcha.
that's not used. So
Yeah.
we'll work with the principals to schedule that, and then we'll pull a unit.
When you're talking, if you can talk to the mic so they can hear it.
Okay.
Do you want me to repeat that, or?
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the question was, when will we remove a unit ventilator so that we can check the condition behind the ventilator so we can determine if we can remove the ventilators? And my answer is that we have to work with the principals to schedule a time that's appropriate for them and pick a room or a classroom where we can do that. And so I don't have a date for you, but that'll be probably in the next couple of months.
Gotcha, okay.
I have 2 questions. In regards to the quality of the air handling systems, someone approached me and asked, well, I mean, are these, high-end HVAC systems that have a long lifespan? Do they have a short lifespan? And I think in my email to the design team, I sort of used the example of roof life. Is there any kind of comment or feedback that you can provide on,
But I'm not sure if everybody remembers Jaquil Sanders. Jaquil's with Moody Nolan.
Okay, well, as we have completed SD, and that was the budget that was presented at the last board meeting, and as we move into the design development phase, we'll be refining that. These will be commercial grade air handling units, new water source heat pumps, and we're certainly going to strive to select the best units for the project that are also budget conscious, but also meet our criteria of reaching towards a LEED Silver certification. So the most energy efficient ones that we can that we think are most appropriate for the project.
So, I mean, so the way it works, and, correct me if I'm not, right here. So you throw it out to bid, and you're going to get a variety of systems, coming in. And then based on that, with PMC and the design team sort of does a budget versus cost analysis.
No, well, our team is going to select, like as I said, the systems they believe that are best for the project to meet our programmatic requirements in terms of efficiency and cost and other things. But usually we specify 3 manufacturers and that we think are best for the project that are equals, and then we will get back the numbers that we after when Turner sends out the bid.
I think when those numbers come back, if you can sort of share how you went through the methodology to pick what you picked. I mean, not everything, but, I think maybe specific to the air handling equipment, I think that would be helpful. I also have a question about contingencies. And I don't know if it's too soon to ask this, but, I mean, I think we're well aware that we wish we had greater contingencies on the high school project. And we are limited in budget in the middle schools. You know, one of the reasons why I'm reasonably happy that we're under the 30 million, you know, ballpark number that we sort of, you know, set, you know, for this phase of the project is it gives us, and this number is what, 29.4, 29.5. It gives us a little bit more breathing room if we need additional contingencies. I mean, can you guys comment on that now? Is there?
Yes, we did follow up a little bit based on that question. Right now, this schematic design estimate is holding a design contingency of 3%. And so what that means is, as the estimators are putting together their estimates, they have to make some assumptions because the project still needs to be developed. So the design contingency will actually drop as we get to design development. We know more information about the project. They can test to see if their assumptions were right or not, and then that will go down. But right now, the project has 3% design contingency. With the construction manager, they're holding a 2% construction contingency, and they'll hold that through construction. So that'll cover items as they award the project, items that come up that a subcontractor missed in the bid, or different items that we might find. So right now, this estimate has about 5% of contingencies. 3% will fade away by the time we actually bid the project. 2 will stay on through construction.
I think we're going to have to really keep a very close eye on that number. We know we didn't have enough in the high school. I know this is an entirely different project and different team members a part of that project. So I just think from learned mistakes, no, that's too strong of a word. I mean, there was unforeseen conditions in the high school. So I think we really need to just keep a really close eye on that. I know Brad keeps us up to date, especially the facilities committee that Eric and I are on, as far as the, I mean, where we're at. But I'd like to see that continue through the middle schools. And I think as far as the contingency goes, because it really affects all the board members, if there's any discussions where you think that the contingencies aren't going to be enough, I think they really need to be shared across, you know, everybody.
Agreed. And this does, as you mentioned, this is below the hard cost budget that we've established for the project, so that has an opportunity there where, as we develop the project, if we want to use that to keep the contingency larger, we have some ability to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one reason why it's nice to be a little bit lower right now than higher, obviously. And you really don't know. I mean, this is all sort of a moot discussion until really the final figures come in and it's really bid out.
Yes.
I think we need to have a very hard conversation and then what we really agree to pick to do.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Since Jim broached the subject, and I realize you are different team members, but I think you also have enough experience. Maybe, Jack, you might be the one, I don't want to put you on the spot, any of you can choose. But as Jim pointed out, part of the problem, or part of the issues that we saw before are termed unforeseen conditions. By the very nature of the word unforeseen, it means it's something you never saw coming, right? So what makes you more confident in this project, the type of project it is, versus the high school project, that the unforeseen conditions would be limited more? And I realize I'm putting you in a bad spot, so please, let's all acknowledge that right away.
I'm not completely familiar with the high school project, but I've sat in some of these meetings too, and I have the sense that the high school project included a lot more additions, a lot more structural work, a lot more heavy-duty rework of the school. Okay, and for the middle schools, we're taking a different approach. We're basically keeping the footprint. We're not expanding. We're not doing some of the areas where I think you ran into issues at the high school. We've established some allowances for certain items. We talked last meeting about there were some structural allowances that we had because the structural engineer identified some potential issues, and we know there's rooftop units that are going to sit up on the roof. So we've established some allowances for certain areas where we are doing some heavy work and some structural type work. So we've established allowances for those. But I think the big difference is just the scope, the nature of the work in the middle schools is less intensive, less destructive, less constructive. It's not the intensive rip it out and start over type that you had on the high school, and I think that's the big difference.
And that's a good answer, by the way. Thank you. So with the budget as it stands, can all of you sleep at night?
Of course, I mean, the reality is, we don't have a huge contingency. We have a contingency that I think is appropriate. It's not fat at all. I wish it was a little bit higher, but I think it's the right number. The fact that we have the design contingency, which, takes care of issues as Shaquille and Turner work together, and there's going to be some clarifications. So we're at 3% on the design contingency now. That number's not necessarily going to go away. What's going to happen is, as we do the next round, we're going to reduce that to 1% because the estimate's going to go up a little
Right.
bit, but we feel that, so that's what the design is. The construction contingency is not super heavy. It's 2%. Most people would say that's a little bit on the light side, but we've established some allowances for other areas where we've got identified exposures. So I think 5% is an appropriate number. I think that I'm comfortable with it. I think based on the nature of the scope of the work that we're doing, I think we're in a good spot.
Thanks for letting me put you on the spot. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Anything else? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We're looking forward to it. Mr. Gaynor?
Mr. Register,
Yes.
Mr. Silverman,
Yes.
Ms. Wright,
Yes.
Mr. Zucker,
Yes.
Mr. Posh.
Yes. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Should we take F2 and 3? I'll take a motion to approve F2 and F3, approval of quarterly contracts, and to accept the donations.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Just two on the list there. It's actually small.
You got anything you want to?
Nothing special.
Okay. Mr. Gaynor?
Mr. Silverman,
Yes.
Ms. Wright,
Yes.
Mr. Zucker,
Yes.
Mr. Posh.
Yes.
Mr. Register,
Yes. And so we're ready for our financials, finance reports.
Actually, Mr. Register, you had one donation to accept.
He did it together.
Oh, you did
Did
them
both
both?
together.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, that was it then. Sorry, thank you.
you can take these together too.
So I'll take a motion to approve G1 and 2.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gaynor, any discussion?
Let me just point out that the five-year forecast has not changed from the one that you approved a couple of weeks ago, except for the fact that at your request, you'll see that we've broken out the community school deduction, the Ed Choice vouchers, and the Peterson Autism Scholarship vouchers. So under that 400 object purchase services tuition line item, you now have separate numbers. Your bottom line is unchanged, your overall forecast is unchanged, but at least you can see the history of those numbers and how they've grown. Other than that, the forecast, as I said, the numbers remain the same. Nothing else has come to light. I did take advantage of, over the holidays, I called Jane Geneva, the chair of the Lay Finance Committee, and just asked her to take a look at both this forecast and some of the numbers that flow into the forecast, along with the assumptions, and make sure that there was, that everything appeared reasonable to her as, for her experience. And she did respond and did a little work over the holidays, so I thank her for that. And just reiterated that she reviewed the attachments and that everything looked fine to her, just more negative public school situations for the district. But that was the gist of that, so. And the other thing I'll note is the tax budget is this once annual alternative tax budget that you have to do this time of year that simply is asking the county for all the, demonstrating the need for the dollars and asking the county for this. So not only do we have to demonstrate the need and ask them for all the money, but then we also approve those advances, as Mr. Register mentioned previously, so that we can get the money as quickly as we are intended to get it.
Any questions?
Well, I have a
Yes.
comment, I don't know, maybe it's a comment or a question, but, our biggest expense is payroll. And, I see how you've worked, well, as part of the Lake Finance Committee for years, I see how you've worked, basically, what we negotiate with our labor, contracts versus what actually gets tucked into here and how you forecast that. And it seems like everything seems reasonable based on conversations you've had with, some of our unions, not all of our unions. I know we're in the middle of, or, getting ready to be a part of, rather large negotiation with one of them. I am, though, very curious, and I sort of asked this sort of in an awkward way in December. Is there a way that we can sort of look at where we are with our staff costs with other unions? And I've seen bits and pieces that you've shared, but is there a way that there can be some kind of presentation, made to the board that sort of, goes through and just sort of says, okay, well, of the Northeastern Ohio school districts, the top 10 are these in compensation. Just so we sort of see where we're at with other districts.
Yeah, I would ask for clarification to some extent in terms of what we're asking for. Are we asking for compensation as a percentage of budgets? I mean, what are we asking other districts for? I want to clarify what we're asking the treasurer to do.
I know. Okay, so,
Okay.
I think it may be difficult to compare apples to apples here, okay? And again, I'm a new board member and I don't really see it, okay? But is there some way that we can sort of compare how we're paying our staff as a whole versus paying how other districts pay their staff? And I know when you go on the Ohio Department of Education, websites, I know it's not apples to apples comparisons, and sometimes we look poorly with that. But I look at this as like, okay, so we're basically forecasting a 1.5% annual increase, and I know some of that is with the step increases that we have. There's cost of living stuff that's sort of tucked in there. Is there some way that we can communicate this in sort of an easy format to the public, just so it seems like that we're being accountable? For example, through these negotiations, if we agree to, and I'm throwing out kind of this like 5% crazy number, it basically means that it really has a very negative effect on the 5-year forecast. Is there other districts or other ways of looking at this, so we can see that, the public's money is being spent wisely for increases?
Well, the only thing I was to say, when I was doing some, granted, unfortunately, it's using ODE's web data, so it's all, one set of numbers is here, and then their stuff is very, speaking with Mr. Gaynor, I think the problem I have with ODE's data is that they'll have different numbers that don't necessarily match up to really what, the public will pull numbers like I did that don't really correspond to functionality. The one thing I will say, though, when I was pulling some data, if you're looking for comps, if you will, the comparables, I sort of broke it into 3 cohorts. One would be your neighboring communities, which I think people view, you're right next, because especially in suburban context, you're right, you're at the intersection of Greene and Fairmont. You got 3 school systems right there. The other one was similar size districts. And the third one was similar, socioeconomic demographic composition. Those were sort of the 3 groups that I was using. So I would suggest, my little suggestion would be, if you're going to compare us to systems, those would be my thought as far as your comps, because it gives you a better sense of, tries to get you a little more apples to apples. So we're similar to Parma in certain ways and not others, versus we're next door to Beechwood. So we're very dissimilar to Beechwood, but we're right next door. Would be my
In terms of a comparison, for example, of, say, an average employee salary, is that what we're asking for? Because across all types of districts, the general rule, and we found that to be accurate, is about 80% of any district's budget is salary and benefits. That traditionally holds true, that's a standard. But once you get into that and get underneath that number, is it kind of trying to compare some average salaries? Because again, that gets into then your years of experience can affect your average salary. That's what skews the ODE data sometimes as well.
it might be, since we're making this request, that maybe we should lean on you a little bit in thinking about what might be an appropriate, without absolute guidance from us, how might you approach that, and what do you think are the key things? And what we could do is ask members of the board to, individually give a note or two, bullet points about what this means and what it means to them for you to go out there. And maybe that would be guidance. And if you get that maybe in the next week, maybe you could come back and say, these are the things I think I ought to look at and blah, blah, blah. I think that would be a decent approach to it.
I agree, but I would suggest not overcomplicating this. I mean, I think that any sets of data can be put into, not to play on your word, but cohorts. I would just go for the bare data, and maybe that would give us ideas of what we want to do from that on.
Yeah, and I guess ultimately, if this is data or information that we're interested in, we ought to be thoughtful about how we use it.
Right.
I mean,
that's right.
Data means absolutely nothing if you don't use it. So we've got to be forward thinking enough about, okay, so we're going to spend the time collecting data. How do we use it? So I guess I am asking us to get our heads in it a little bit if we're asking the treasurer to get his head in it. We ought to, we're not giving him complete guidance now, but if you got thoughts about it, you need to think about the data, how it would be used, and that kind of thing. So anyway, I just think that's my suggestion. The other piece of this, Jim, you sort of mentioned it, and that has to do with the lay finance committee. It might be that what we really would like is we might want to use them a little bit more than we have in the past. So maybe the conversation that we're really wanting to do is to have the expertise, and there's a lot of expertise there, and it might be that we would want the lay finance committee to actually weigh in on what should we be looking at. So anyway.
Understood. Okay, so I'll reach out and start collecting those data points that we want to see and what we're going to do with them.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm having a very hard time articulating this. I mean, kind of keep in mind, we're elected members. We're not school. We're not treasurers like you. We're not superintendents like you. We're not educators like we see in the audience. We're community members who have a whole set of experience that we bring to the table.
Sure.
I guess the question that I'm trying to ask, are we paying our teachers enough, or are we not paying them enough? And I just need some guidance on how we sort of come up with those figures. I mean, that's all. I mean, that's what I'm looking for. And I would imagine we've got community members that ask the same sort of thing. So,
Understood.
Okay. Is that sufficient?
Yeah.
Okay.
thanks.
Anything else? Okay. We need to call the roll, I think.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Posh?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Okay, that gets us to a board president's report. And again, being a new board president, couple of things. I guess I was willing to take on this presidency because I guess I have a little bit of a vision about the things that we're trying to wrap our heads around and the things that I think we ought to be interfacing with others to try to get a handle on. There's a real, for me, there's a real issue around charter schools. There's real issues around these tuitions and ultimately how we're being stewards of our money. And I think that the state, I personally feel the state hasn't helped us a lot. And I also think that we have not been very active in thinking about the legislation and how the legislators and the government and the governor deals with the issues around public education. And I think that's a real fertile ground for us to really get our hands on. And I think we have some really good allies out there. We need to go out and really start to interface with them. And Jim challenged me a little bit in terms of, he thinks because I've been on the board that I know a lot of stuff. And that's not necessarily the case. I mean, you know some things, but it's almost like you can remember when this room was painted this color. That's the kind of stuff that you know. But you need to know a little bit more about what does it mean that I was actually sitting on this board. I took office, I think, in 2002. Can you believe it? But anyway, the related to that is that the whole proliferation of charters and scholarships happened while I was sitting here. And I wasn't as in tune with that as I wish I had been, because what we're talking about now, we may have been dealing with it before. But it's kind of interesting because I'm not the Lone Ranger in that regard. When I go to these meetings, these statewide meetings, people say, oh, I've been there for 25 years. What are you doing for 25 years? How could this happen? And, but anyway, the idea that there are some issues for us to connect with more with people in our community, more with our state legislators, and even more nationally. I think the fact that Betsy DeVos is being named Secretary of Education, we all ought to be up in arms. But anyway, it's the nature of what we have to do. So my goal is to provide some leadership around some of these issues and to try to also bring some of the things that I'm looking at and thinking about is, and Jim, this is what you asked, is that I ought to be mentoring people around these issues. So I one of my jobs is to name board members to committees. And one of the things that I've seen is that we probably need to have somebody we need to begin to invest in legislation and what that means, and begin to attend some meetings that the Ohio School Boards Association actually happen. So I'm really going to invest a lot in you this year around that issue of legislation and what we should be looking at, what we should be thinking about, and going to some meetings and that kind of thing. So that's one thing I want to do. The other thing that we haven't done is we haven't related very well to the National School Boards Association, but there is a lot of conversations that happen, and it turns out that the National School Boards Association actually goes to Washington and visits the Capitol and all that kind of stuff. We haven't been doing that. I think the first year I was on the board, I think I actually went to the National School Boards meeting in New Orleans, but I haven't been since. I didn't necessarily see the value in it. But one value I have discovered recently has to do with the fact that they do have an advocacy institute. And the superintendent and I are actually going to go to the National School Boards Advocacy Institute, which is at the end of this month in Washington. And it'll be an opportunity for us to actually see Congress people, our senators and our lawmakers, our legislators, and begin to open those conversations. And ultimately, I think the community has to be involved in this too. So from my standpoint, if we're going to be effective in doing some of this advocacy work that we need to do, we need to have our community understanding it and ready to deal with it. I always say that what we have to do, and this has to be school board members statewide and school boards statewide, we represent the same people that the state legislature represent. And I think, in fact, we're a little bit closer to them, but people don't necessarily see us in that light. So we've got to sort of change the dynamic of how people think about school board members and what we represent. I think we represent political power that we have not thought about how to exercise, and I think one of the things we're going to have to do is really think our way through that. So anyway, that's one part. The other part, I did do the work of naming people, our board members, to committees, and I basically kept people where they were based on me interacting and talking about what does it mean. And one of the things that I would say, and I'm saying this to the board members and the public, when we as board members go to a committee, we don't represent ourselves. We represent the views of the board. I've got a list of those committee assignments. We'll refine them, and I think they're done as far as I'm concerned. And if you want to do something different or you want to talk about what it means, I'm open for that. But the first thing that it means is that you understand where we are, where we as a board member are related to the issues that might surface at the Recreation Board or the Alumni Association or the MSAN or whatever. It's our duty to understand what the issues are and be able to represent the views of us, not me. So I say that because I think it's an important thing that as we move forward, I'm going to push really hard on that. Have you talked to your fellow board members? Do you know what they think? Do we need to get our heads together and jointly come up with a position on stuff? So anyway, that's my report. Do we have any unfinished business? Great. What about new business? Now, I know we just getting our board committee reports, assignments. Do we have anything that anybody wants to report? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I have a question. I mean, we were trying to put together a meeting between us and the FAC, and there were some dates that we were exchanging. Has that been set? Is that?
It should be set for the
26th.
26th, right?
Right.
Yeah, so, it's, I believe 7 o'clock, but I'm gonna verify if it's 6 o'clock or
Yeah,
7
I
o'clock.
actually,
don't know.
we got an email from the chairman of that committee.
Right.
Doesn't that have to be, because I emailed the treasurer's office, doesn't it have to be treated and noticed like our?
Oh, we would
Yes.
notice.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yeah.
But
And I think we got a window, what is it, a 1 week
Oh, yeah.
window,
Well,
something?
no, it's not on the list of upcoming meetings, that's
No,
why.
it's not.
Right.
Yes, I think the setting of that meeting is, we're just getting there.
Right,
With
right.
finalizing it. But yes, the 26th at 7 o'clock is the date.
If we're talking about meetings with other bodies, I think I would suggest, Mr. President, we're past due on meeting with the library board, and we probably should set up some meetings with the two city councils as well, because I think it'd be value with having us give them an up. And I know Brad's in the back getting ready to go home. I think it'd be useful to have, I think they'd be very interested in an update on the project in the high school, for all three bodies, actually.
Yeah, we can set those up. Is there, there was a time when we all met together. Is there a meeting that we could all meet together? Like if we wanted to update our facilities action, is that something that we could have everybody at one time? Maybe a special meeting, and if there are individual things that we need to deal with the cities, that we could do that as a separate?
Years ago, we had joint board meetings, and I think there was the consensus over time was that it was more effective. I think if the sole purpose is to have an update on the high school project, then I think, yeah, if you can get all four of us in the room, that's a great way to knock that out. Conversely, I think the negative that we saw, and I think actually probably withered when you started, or when I was doing it was withering, I think I stopped doing it when you came on. I think if we want to do more of a one-on-one kind of a dynamic, it's better for us to have the one-on-one meetings when we have stuff with the individual entities. But if we're looking purely to do hey guys, here's what's going on with the high school, and hey, what's going on with your projects, if we keep it to just that, then there may be benefit of just doing one big meeting for all four.
I think I would want to try to do that.
Okay.
And I think we want to do it specifically around facilities, and then we can go for the individuals around other issues that we have, because we do have some others.
I think that works.
The one thing that's in my head is, boy, I would love to bring them together in the high school, but that'll put us in what? May?
Yes.
Okay, then maybe there are other meetings that we should have before then, but it would be nice for us to have a meeting in the new high school. If that even puts us in August, that I wouldn't.
Well,
But
the challenge there, I think I know from the thought's already been of, hey, getting folks in, I think from speaking with, from Pat, small, real small niche
Yeah,
groups.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
hey, we're gonna grab 15 folks from the Cedar Lee Merchants, or we're gonna grab 15 people from niche groups, that's much easier than just, hey,
Yeah.
guys, show up.
Yeah.
Particularly now because unless the ground's frozen, it's a swamp.
Yeah.
And I think the logistics of trying to get something like this is completely not until the summer next year. So I think the benefit for us is to get these folks to give them updates. Cleveland Heights has their master plan. It'd be great for them to give us a presentation. The library's got their renovation project. I wish I could say I knew what was going on at University Heights. But at least two of the three, and we've got the high school.
Everyone can kind of share a little bit.
Exactly. I think if we focus purely on, hey, what's going on Capitol, I think that would be a relatively easy agenda.
Yeah, I think it's potential that we could do within the first quarter. We could line up the individual meetings. And I'd love for us to be able to foreshadow a time when we'll be at the high school.
But I think there's no downside to waiting till August or even September
agree.
to do
I
that. And I
agree.
think we probably should talk to Brad and that group
I agree.
before we just, there's
I
no
agree.
reason to rush that.
Right, I agree. Okay. Anything else? Any correspondences or announcements? Then I need to take a motion to go into executive session. Okay, you got something? I got a notion, I'd like to have a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of considering the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, demotion, or compensation of an employee or official of the school district.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gaynor?
Mr. Posh?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.